Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. From the comics, TV, and movies, we'll go from the Mojoverse to Earth 616 to the Bedford Savant Apartments in Brooklyn, New York, in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the Uncanny Chris.
I'm your friendly neighborhood Brent.
I am the podcaster of Mischief Chestnell.
Alliance Assemble.
Assemble.
Look at that. We've got the return. The return of one of the original co-hosts of this illustrious show. He has made his return after, what has it been, a month and a half?
Month and a half. Yeah, I had told Chris originally, like, oh, I have this date where I'm planning I can get on right before the baby comes, and that didn't happen. So, but here we are. I'm happy to be back. You guys have been holding it down. You guys maybe have a little Stockholm syndrome with the movie Venom, but that's okay. I'm happy to I'm happy to be back, and I've been looking very forward to finding a time. And thought, at first I thought, well, I'm going to come on this week because it's the week after What If. Be a slow week. I like to babble on, so that'll give us a bunch of time. But then we got some good news stories, so I'm very excited to be back and talk some stuff this week.
It's almost like they knew you were coming back and they decided to drop a few gems.
Yeah, unfortunately, they had to unveil that I did not get the role of Adam Warlock. I sent James Gunn many DMs, but he did not decide to go my way. But I'm excited to talk about what this man could be doing in our universe now. So,
how's your week been, Brent?
Oh, really can't complain. I mean, nothing really exciting work-wise. Nothing in general really exciting. We got some cool little small news bits today. That was fun. And other than that, it's been a low-key, just chill week kind of for me.
Yeah, we'll take it. We'll take it at this point. So, we've got some big stuff coming up this weekend. So let's get those plugs out of the way so we can plug all the fun stuff going on with the network and everything along those lines. So as you know, listeners, we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network with 8 shows coming at you kind of 7 days a week. Depends on the week. If you get that bye week, it's every day during the week.
I think you just need to drop that part from the spiel because everybody's like, I don't know how many days a week. 8 shows a week. That's all you need to say.
8 shows a week. There we go. 8 shows a week. I like it. All right. So you got on Mondays, you got World's Finest True Believers. As Brent is editing the show notes as we go through this. Yes, on Mondays you got World's Finest True Believers, alternating bi-weekly with Ranger Alliance on Mondays this week with Ranger Alliance at that point. And no, never mind. No, it was my show. Oh, shoot. See, it's already been a long week. It was my episode this week. It was World's Finest this week. Yes, I dropped a new episode this week with a first-time guest, Mark from Comic Book Legion, one of Clay's co-host of that show, looking at the amazing, outstanding series, Day Tripper. Definitely a life-changing read on my part. Really, as Mark said, it kind of saved him from kind of giving up comics in general and kind of reigniting his passion for it. So definitely read that. I wish I could tell you more, and I was very cagey in how I was written the description because there is one big secret about this book that you can only experience by reading it. So check that out. And so next Monday will be Ranger Alliance dropping it because I was thinking back, wait a minute, do I have to prep a show for Travis this week? No. DC Alliance on Tuesday, superhero discussions on Wednesdays, Star Wars Alliance now going weekly on Thursdays, Marvel Alliance on Fridays, and a walk through the multiverse now is on Saturdays bi-weekly. And then Slice of Film Sundays bi-weekly. Check out Slice of Film. I joined Katie and Joe to review No Time to Die, the newest James Bond flick. So make sure you check that out. DC Alliance goes live on the Geekverse YouTube channel on Monday nights. Star Wars Alliance goes live on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then Marvel Alliance goes live at 9:10 right now on Thursday nights. So check all those shows out. The last 3 shows have their own podcast feed, so make sure you check those out. And we also have a Patreon, so we want to thank our patrons. We can't do this without your support. We got 2 tiers. We got $1 tiers, our tip jars, throw a couple of shekels our way. Think we're doing a good job. And then we've got our $5 tier with our ad-free episodes, Patreon exclusive shows, and early access episodes. So again, if you join us on Patreon, we really appreciate it. But if you can't join us on Patreon, please rate and review the Marvel Alliance solo feed or the Geek Ultimate Alliance feed and give us that 5-star review saying we're doing a good job, we really appreciate it at that point. It takes 30 to 90 seconds. And last as always, but not least, our official sponsor, organicpricebooks.com, for all your omnibus, hardcover, and collected edition needs. As you see, the clock is ticking down, 15 hours left to lock in your pre-orders for this pre-order cycle.
Whoa.
Of a lot of big books on this pre-order cycle. We got 2 new Absolute editions coming from DC next year. Let's see if we can find some Marvel stuff.
Doomsday Clock. Look at that.
Yep. Doomsday Clock and Absolute. Follow the Mutants.
Did that finally finish? That all came
Yes,
out?
that's finally finished. A little bit of She-Hulk action. And the Savage She-Hulk. See, that show's coming out next year. Death and Return. Yep, Flintstones. Yeah, Death and Return of Superman is coming back into print for DC. That has been long out of print for the last couple of years. Darth Vader by Karen Gillan is coming back into print. So a lot of good stuff. So again, you can always purchase these, but to guarantee your pre-order, you got 13 hours left to do that. Again, we want to thank organicpricebooks.com as our sponsor. And again, use that code MarvelGUA at checkout for $2 off every single order. You can use it as many times as you want. Again, thank you, Organic Price, for being our official sponsor. And we've got some fun stuff to talk about. So if you are listening to this on the podcast feeds, tomorrow, Saturday, we've got DC Fandom.
Yeah. Yeah, I when you say it like that, because like I know I'm still not used to sometimes this being on Thursday. That when this releases the next day. So how this is going to go on the Geekverse YouTube channel, we have a plethora of GVA. That's what we should just call it at this point. But the GUA and GV doing a big crossover like we did last year to cover all Fandom. This year, it's only, I've seen some people say it's 3.5 hours. Some people say it's 4. Either way, I think it's around 4-ish. What the plan is 9:30 a.m. PST. Sorry, Brent, that's where I am. So I'm going to throw out the PST time because that's how I'll remember it.
I know it's at noon. That's all I know.
There you go. So at that point, we will start a little half an hour before just to get settled, get everyone's streams lined up, and just kind of set up the show, share the link so you can come watch along. But yeah, we're going to be there all day. I don't know because they haven't given us a schedule, I think, other than we just know the Batman's closing it out. So I'm not sure if it is like last year where it's going to be, hey, a little segment and then a little break, segment, a little break, or if it's just going to be 4 hours of boom, boom, boom. I think that's what it is. So likely what we'll do is we're going to do watch along, and then for the podcast feeds for both GV and GUA, there will be an episode there. Probably some stuff recorded throughout, but also I imagine after DC Fandom ends, we'll probably go for about an hour breaking everything down throughout. We're going to be making a list of what topic, and yeah, no, I'm I Star Marvel Alliance, some Marvel through and through, but man, that little teaser today of Robert Pattinson just talking about that bat signal, I am very, very excited. I'm very anticipated to see what's going to happen, and I think it's just going to be a really good time overall. Last time we had a fun year. There's going to be a bunch of people. You can go on the Twitter feeds. There's a bunch of people already listed who's going to be joining, and it's going to be a very good time. So are you ready, Chris? Are you ready? You got your glasses ready?
Yes, I made a comment saying, I mean, what was it? 8 hours? It felt like last year.
I think it was longer than that. I think it was
it was almost like 10 o'clock. If I remember when we finally wrote off the air. So yeah, massive migraine at that point. So lovely blue light glasses. I'll be rocking out at that point just to make it through. No, I'm very excited. Like you said, the Batman trailer, some of the new, first looks at the Flash, with Flashpoint. Hopefully a couple of surprises here or there. It's always going to be the talk, but yeah, I'll be there hopefully for most of the pregame and the full show. So luckily Aaron has given me the afternoon to do that.
That's good. And Brent, hopefully we see a new Flash costume. I know you've been wanting.
We got a taste of it last year in that concept art, but I'm just stuck on you calling it the bat signal. I thought we called it the bat warning now. It's not just a signal.
Yeah, we'll see. That's we get all this nice present unwrapped. So yeah, that's happening the 16th, and then November 6th. You've probably seen Jua's tweet. That was retweet this. A bunch of other people have. We have our Extra Life charity stream. We did this last year. We did a trivia battle, and we're doing it again, but the stakes are a little bit different as it's myself leading a team versus Clay. So I got 2 announcements. One, to formally lead off, I have to announce that Chris Balga will be hosting the Marvel side of things. We're changing up the host. The DC ones, like if you follow Twitter, there's the DC one. The lawyers are still checking out, but with Marvel, you are hosting this year. Taylor's hosting Star. So, sir, are you ready? You got to prepare about 30 questions of Marvel goodness going on. As I've told people before, there's 20 movie questions and 10 TV questions.
Yeah, and TV counts as streaming. So
anything
TV Marvel. So probably gonna start prepping that starting next weekend. So I've got some ideas in mind I've written off to the side, but yeah, I've gotta give some good ones to test your all's Marvel might at that point.
So just like Taylor, Chris is going to do the right thing. Isn't that right, Chris?
Of course, I always do the right thing.
Yes. And then also
remember, there's only 3 ways of doing things. There's my way, the wrong way, and then there's the right way. So
and then again, I am happy to announce a second team member as far as this team, because Anthony, Tony, whatever we want to call him, making his little jokes about how I'm going to be alone. I already yesterday on Geekverse announced Wonder Man, and I can announce this other person, and we'd be fully locked, ready to go to beat these people. But we have more to come. But luckily, I can announce that Brent is joining the Wolves. He will be, if you're on Twitter, this will be a public at noon, but you will be a part of the squad. Last year, you were asking questions. This year, you're answering them. So how do you feel? You had to be on the other side this year, but now you're in the fire of it. You're pretty much switching places with Chris.
I am switching places with Chris, which means I'm not in the fire of coming up with questions and trying to figure out, is this too hard? Is this too easy? Whatever. And But I'm ready for the W. We're gonna win, right? I mean, it's pretty much a lock. I don't even know why we're doing it at this point.
Oh yeah, well, and I'm very excited because I know whoever the DC host is, it's good because I have DC TV knowledge, but it is like the very finite of like, yeah, that's Eobard Thawne, and that's about it. I can't remember stuff, so I hope you pull through there. But you can choke up. It's very easy. The lights are bright, but yeah, that's going down.
The lights. I control my lights. I'll turn them off.
Because if you screw up, I hate to say it, Katie, but like everyone still remembers the Death Star thing, and we still it always comes back to that. And hey, people, I had so many screw ups. Like that's the thing. People tend to remind you of these things on the internet, but that's the thing. November 6th, it's going to be 9 a.m. EST, or sorry, 9 p.m. EST. 6 p.m. PS. Yeah, sorry, I just scared these guys so much. Like, what happened?
Like, 12. I don't know. But...
yeah. So no, it's gonna be 24 hours, but that will be the charity stream portion of the trivia battle, and there's gonna be a lot more announcements. So as always, I say just go to the Geekverse Twitter every day at noon, and there'll be a new player, new combatant, stuff like that. There's about 20 people overall on this thing. It's definitely our biggest thing we've put together, and there's other people associated with the network, other people that are not. So it's going to be a fun time either way. And I thank you gentlemen very much for both participating. We have some fun, but it help us for, if we hit our goal, Taylor's going to shave his head, So that's always a good thing.
And you had 2 other goals. I heard you said.
Yeah. People just last minute jump in. Tony, I love Jessica has said if we hit $3,000, she's gonna shave her head. Her hair is like all the way down to almost her hip. Tony,
wow.
who has like a little hair is like, for $4,000, I'll shave my head. My wife let me. It's like, okay, big man, but you know what? We take all the support. So yeah, this week we're gonna announce a bunch of stuff as far as the t-shirts back and donated and gold stuff. So yeah, so it's gonna be just a fun time.
Yeah. And so our last thing before we get into our first week without a going back to our roots, Travis, before we had these lovely Disney Plus shows at that point, our first week without it, we're going to announce some big news for our next episode next week. We will have a special guest joining us. I know, Travis, you are a special guest this week, but you're in a league of your own, buddy. But
yeah, most people would say that. I'm in a league way by myself.
But we will have the special guest, Sean O'Connell. He is the writer of the Release the Snyder Cut, the crazy true story behind the fight that saved Zack Snyder's Justice League. He is currently wrapping up writing his second book, entitled With Great Power, How Spider-Man Conquered Hollywood During the Golden Age of Comic Book Blockbusters. So he will be joining Brent and I at the top of the show, talking about the book itself, maybe dropping, a couple of tidbits and maybe some exclusive for the show at that point. We don't know, but we've been told we can ask anything, and he will either say he can talk about it or not, but if for those of you who have followed the network, I interviewed Sean when he was just releasing the book or getting ready to release the book. So real down to earth guy, really nice guy. He actually lives in, I live in Harrisburg, North Carolina, but he lives down the road in Charlotte. So really nice guy. And we're looking forward to, Brent and I are big Spider-Man fans. So, so it'll be interesting to see some of that that behind the scenes knowledge that he's been able to acquire with these interviews. So
yeah, I've had the privilege of speaking with him a little bit by DM a couple times, and I'm really looking forward to this book. I think he's on a really good path with this book. I think it's going to be a really fun read for me and hopefully for everyone else.
Yep. So check that out. We will open the show with that. I've told him that he is welcome to stay if we've got any big news he wants to jump into. But yeah, check that out next week. And so yeah, we are done with the plugs, gentlemen. Let us get into our main story for tonight. We've got some other quick hit news items, but we've got a new casting that has been denied or dodged for a while since Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 ended with the idea that what was going to be in this cocoon was Adam Warlock. Well, Adam Warlock has been cast and confirmed by the director, James Gunn, is Will Poulter. So I believe the rumor kind of got broken by the Cosmic Circus coverage on October 9th by Vin, one of their writers over there. So I want to give props to them over there. I think Liz is kind of the main founder of the Cosmic Circus. I want to give them credit for it. Deadline had reported as an exclusive, but again, we'll leave that as it may. At that point, it's not really that much of an exclusive when another one kind of breaks it as a rumor, but that Will Poulter was cast as it. The character first appeared in the post-credits scene in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And so this is kind of a big part in the sense of where this places in Marvel Comics, because Adam Warlock is tied to much, if you see our back screen of where you can actually see it, Adam Warlock's very much tied to the Infinity Stones, the Infinity Gauntlet. So seeing Adam Warlock being cast post Endgame is going to be interesting, and how he fits into the Marvel universe as a whole.
Yeah, the story he's most known for is done. They've told that story. He's most known for his tie-ins to effectively the Infinity Gauntlet, right? And so it'll be curious to know what to do. Obviously, it's not the only thing he's done, but I think overall it's a big casting. It's a super anticipated one. I don't know a lot about Will Poulter himself, but people have been really, really hyped to see what would happen with Adam Warlock and for James Gunn to get his hands on the character. And obviously he teased it. I mean, of course, they're like, oh, we never promised. Yeah, I mean, we all knew he was coming. They might as well have said Adam Warlock will return at the end of it or will show up. But it is still exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with him.
Yeah, Will Poulter, some of the roles he's been in The Revenant, Detroit, has been busy on the TV front and Amazon's miniseries The Underground Railroad. He next can be seen in the Hulu's limited series Dopesick, which I think has it premiered yet. It's been seeing a lot of ads for it. I'm not sure. I know Michael Keaton's in it as well.
Really? I've not seen any ads. That's impressive. I didn't. Anytime Michael Keaton's doing something, it has me on record of taking a look at it. So,
but yeah, what do you think about this casting?
It's interesting because there's a few things. I've said this on Twitter and Geek, so it's a quick repeat of it, just saying I would not have picked Will Poulter at all. He's a talented guy, but it's just one of those that, you see the circle peg or circle hole in the square peg. It just doesn't really match. But the good thing is he's a great actor, so I don't really have much worry there. It is kind of, it reminds me a lot of when we had Spider-Man like coming to the MCU and it was around Civil War time and everyone was like, are they going to do the mask thing like right now? It's like, well, this wouldn't really make sense of him to reveal his identity if we just got him. And that's what this reminds me of. Like, he's coming into a story where the Civil War and Spider-Man, the big thing is his identity reveal, right? And obviously they changed that for the movie. So it's kind of like this, where it's like the big thing with Adam Warlock is Thanos and the Gauntlet and the Stones. Like, well, that's kind of done. And it is interesting because we've talked about it like on the show and privately, where they are changing Miss Marvel's origins, right? Yep. And not saying they got to completely change this, but I think they are going to adapt it quite a bit, and I'm just interested to see that. I think they will have a Thanos like relationship dynamic with somebody, but who is it going to be? And the other thing that was interesting was, this was in Variety's report, but Boris Kitt, he had put that, or sorry, Deadline, but Boris Kitt from Variety put out that a lot of actors were going after this role, and it was very sought after one for like younger males and whatnot. And that's very interesting because I talked about this with Joe. In my mind, most of the time that I've read Adam Warlock, he's a pretty, not one note character, but kind of bordering on that. There's like, he has I've said this before, a Dr. Manhattan light complex about him. So to me, it's interesting that I think James Gunn, one, writing must be good because people try and get this role. And to me, it also reads that he's going to be in this, but we're going to be seeing him around a lot other places. I think I could see him in the next big crossover, whether that be Secret Wars, whether it's, I don't know if it could be his own series because Adam Warlock in space might be expensive. We still have not really gotten a space Disney Plus show yet, really, right? Like, I guess you have Loki, but lots that was set in the TVA, right? If you do a show about like Rocket and Groot, like a show that's primarily based on a CGI character, which Warlock won't be, I think, but even just I feel like his powers, lots of CGI, but I think that he's going to be around quite a bit. And I'm just interested to see also James Gunn's take, because James Gunn likes a lot of comedy, but I don't recall Adam Warlock being a very jokey type of character. So I don't know, is he going to get the James Gunn treatment, or is he going to be kind of the straight man going throughout these movies?
Yeah, like you mentioned, Boris Kid. I think if I'm not a fan of Bridgerton, but I know Regé-Jean Page was considered at this time. 1917's George McKay. McKay was also on the short list. I mean, the fact that so many of these younger actors wanted this part says something about the script. You know, that, and also that it's very sought after, meaning also that there is a much bigger future for Adam Warlock post Volume 3.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, news. Actors want to work with the MCU. It's not that big a surprise that these people would be interested in a part that's been heavily anticipated. James Gunn is obviously a super talented director. I'm not at all surprised. And if either of those other guys from Bridgerton or 1917 have gotten the part, sure, that'd been fine. I've seen both of those, so I would at least know who those, a little bit more about those actors. But I don't know. I read this like list of people, and I'm like, you just listed like a bunch of young actors. Of course, they all wanted the parts.
Yeah, they want that paycheck.
But it could be something like, I guarantee you not lots of young actors want, or even actors want the role of like Malekith in Thor Dark World, right? Like, and I know that was MCU different, but I think there is something where there's like, that was a big thing around, if you remember the Batman when they were casting for the Riddler, that apparently Jonah Hill really wanted to be the Riddler. They're like, no, you're the Penguin. He's like, but I really want, and that was the thing that multiple actors were reading for other roles. And they're like, yeah, but I want this one. So I think there's like, you're true that like 100%, if you can get in the MCU, that could potentially be a good meal ticket. Even Adam Warlock, if he's not a main event guy, he could be around that B+ level. But I think it is a good sign that if there's other actors of note, like really wanting this, that could be a good thing. And we talked about those with Clay, the guy from Bridgerton. I think he will be in the MCU very soon if those reports are true. Because remember when they released that Infinity box set or whatnot, and you got to see like Chadwick Boseman like audition as like Drax the Destroyer and Chris Pratt for Captain America. When actors get, and I can't remember too, Evangeline Lilly did another one too. It's like when actors, if supposedly get that close to being one of the final picks, that means they kind of bankroll them. Like, okay, we didn't pick you here, but down the line, we're going to get you. And especially that guy, I don't watch Bridgerton, but I know who he is from just like the hype of him. So I think you will see him around at some point.
I could see him playing Silver Surfer.
Yeah,
I could definitely see him playing a Silver Surfer.
Yeah, S-Bubs in the chat saying they'll revive Thanos in 10 years and do Infinity War, even more war. Yep. And on the game, there's a faint rumors of an Adam Warlock Disney Plus show after Guardians of the Galaxy 3 featuring Pip the Troll from
all in the game. Where are those rumors from? Because there's a faint rumor I'm going to be the next Wolverine, but you know, don't read too much into it. But and here's the thing, yeah, Karen Gillan for Sharon Carter as well. Like, there's so many people when they get to those final things, they go, okay, we're going to save them for later. But to as Bub's points, I've said this before that Thanos will be back, and that's the thing when we go, oh, how are they going to do the Adam Warlock Thanos dynamic? We still might get it. It might be 5 years from now, but Thanos, like I said, they have established many times he's not dead. He's just hanging out in a stone somewhere or drifting apart wherever they were for drifting for 5 minutes, like Peter Parker said. All it takes is one snap, one crazy Dr. Doom, and Thanos is back. So we still may get that dynamic of Adam v Thanos.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting in the fact that also when James Gunn is usually, we've seen James Gunn gun people down with their scoops very recently at that point.
Well done.
Yep.
But who do you think you are, Tim Rooney? What's going on over here?
Hey, you know what? I wish I could, sometimes I again, the master has taught me many things, but when he quote tweeted the Deadline story and saying, I know I'm used to striking these rumors down, so welcoming him in there, but also saying he'll see him in a couple of weeks. So that says when they're getting ready to start filming. Do
you think that, so I guess it's a broader question. Do you guys both think there will, regardless of James Gunn or not, be a Guardians of the Galaxy 4?
I think there will be, but I think as everyone's kind of expecting, I think one or two major players are gonna bite the big one in this one. But I think what's been, at least in the comics, you have a couple of mainstays of Guardians, but the team changes. So I think that there will be another Guardians movie, but the team will change, like the Avengers.
Yeah, it'll be radically different. There may be a couple holdovers, but I think it'll be radically. Like, didn't Donny Cates recently have a Guardians run that had tons of other people on it? I mean, a couple others, but it'll be something like that.
So my question is, do you think this is a setup for him, meaning Adam, to be? I know, like, him being a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy is weird, but still, it's the movies, they change stuff. Do you think this is a setup for him to be even in that movie or a member, or do you think this is a springboard for, okay, we introduce him in 3, and then he goes off in the MCU to do other things?
I would say it's a springboard for other things. I think they're still trying to build up this idea of the Marvel cosmics, the cosmic side of the Marvel galaxy at that point. Again, we've heard how many rumors of Nova is a character they're going to be looking at. Again, keep on building off this side of Marvel that they can focus beyond Guardians and go more cosmic. So Adam would be a part of that.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I could see him being in supposed Guardians 4, but it's still going to all be the same thing as what Chris was just saying. That's going to build out the cosmic universe, and so the cosmic side of the universe. So I mean, I don't. Let's put it this way: I don't see him getting a solo project anytime soon.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, no, I think I'm pretty much around the same. I'm not sure. I think Guardians 4 will be a mix of OG people, other MCU characters, and then new people we meet, but I also think it would be a few years off. I don't think they're going to jump right into and be like, it's kind of same with Avengers, where they're like, we're going to take our time. You got that brand, but I do think maybe in a slow week, I will pitch you a question to create your Deadpool for Guardians of the Galaxy, because it's interesting. Because I know there's a couple obvious ones that people feel like, oh, they're for sure going, but there's a few where all I'll say is Groot has to survive, just like Chewbacca. You don't get rid of the ageless character, it's just like, it's easy. Anybody can do the voice. Anybody can be in the suit. Groot's sticking around. That's all I'm saying.
Gotta have that sliver.
A Groot has to survive.
Exactly. You'll have a tree in Guardians. That's what I'll say. Some sort of tree figure will be around. So,
But any more we got on this topic before we take our first ad break?
I don't think so.
My only question, no, I got one more, is do you think is the Soul Stone at all a part of the first movie for you guys with Adam? Because obviously that was such a tie to him in the comics, but with that being gone, is there a way they work that back in, or is it okay, we're going to go a different route with him?
I would think for his first appearance, probably a different route.
Yeah, I think, again, the stones come into play, but I think they need to step away a little bit from the stones to kind of build up and then bring it back. So
I agree.
S. Bob saying Vin Diesel needs to keep Groot alive until the eventual Fast and Furious crossover. I mean, again, the Guardians are a family, so
they are family. Hell
if Feige ever does that would be more questionable than working with Sony. I would officially go, you know what, you've gone mad, Kevin Feige.
I'm in. Screw it. I'm in. Let's go.
I understand making a deal with Sony to get Spider-Man, their characters. Making a deal with Universal, get Dom and his family. Get out of here!
It's all to get the Hulk distribution rights back.
Maybe that's it. Yeah, then I could justify. Okay, we'll give you the rights, but Dom has to appear in one of the movies, and he has to be stronger than Thanos.
I remember my father.
Yeah, that's who his father was, Thanos. I know in the movies he's a driver or whatnot, but no, there's always
he's
reveals.
Not stronger than Thanos. Family is.
Family is. Right, never forget it. Never forget it. All right, we will end our discussion of Adam Warlock on family.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought? And with Vin Diesel.
And we will take our first ad break. So, as you know, listeners, these ads help keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they can be a bit loud. So, I'm going to give you that 3 count to turn that volume down before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we're back. So, we'll move on to the Eternals. So, Chloe Zhao, and we'll start off with her. She had an interview with Fandango, which also launched the pre-sales for Eternals at that point. I know Brent and I have gotten our tickets.
Mhm.
Travis, have you gotten yours as well?
I have gotten my tickets. Yes, 6 p.m. I'm ready to watch some cowards.
You just hold on to that thought, because I think you'll be singing a different tune about 3 hours later.
We will see. But the title of the article, Director Chloe Zhao on how Marvel's Eternals will redefine the entire MCU. So I've picked out a couple of questions and answers from that I thought were interesting in this article, kind of discuss, namely the main part of the title of the story. You know, how would you say this movie redefines everything we've seen in the MCU? And what do you think when Kevin Feige says that in this featurette they're referring to? And Chloe says, well, let's see. I think the big part of it is that audience will be discovering the origin of the MCU through the mythology of the Celestials. I think by the end of the film, we will have a new understanding of planet Earth's relationship with the cosmos and also with her own inhabitants. But in that sense, it would have a huge effect on the future of the MCU. So, I mean, they're building up this movie to be, you know, from what we're saying, like general audience itself, this is not the talk of the town, but you look at the pre-sales of it, it's definitely garnered a lot of support from, I can't remember, was it 2.9 million in pre-sales?
Something like that. Yeah, it's like 80% over Shang-Chi and then 30% over Black Widow. So doing pretty well.
Mhm.
Yeah, and this is the one again, like, you know, it happened with Guardians, happened with Ant-Man. Is this going to be Marvel's first flop? People aren't going to care. No one, where are these guys been? They're just a bunch of cowards, right, Travis? No, people definitely care. They definitely care about this. You can tell. Part of that's the cast. Part of it's because people just have faith in Marvel. Part of it's some pretty cool trailers.
And I'll even say when I did not buy I bought my tickets today, it went on sale, but it was like later at night. Typically, in the last couple of Marvel movies I bought for, I was still the only person who bought the day of pre-sales began. Half that theater for my 6 o'clock showing is already sold out.
Yeah. And that's the thing where I've told this on Geek First and in public too, where I'm not in that camp of I think this movie would bomb or not do well. I'm just surprised of how much. And that's the thing where it shows like, you know, different strokes for different folks, where there's tons of people, whether it is more people being vaccinated, then go watch it, or they're just excited to be back at the movies, that they are getting back in that routine, or they're just simply more excited for this. I've said before, where even at Thanksgiving, oh, you seen this movie? Oh yeah, I probably will eventually, because my family, like, they like the Marvel movies, whatnot. But it's one of these things where lots of them,
family.
Yeah, hashtag family. It's all about family. We win. But it's like, I know Spider-Man, that's a day one. I know, like we talk about Fandom, Batman, that's a day one. Shang-Chi, that was one. It wasn't the day one, it was the weekend of they heard so much buzz from their friends. Now, maybe that will happen with Eternals, but the thing is, it's already happening as far as the outpacing sales now. That's just for the opening night and weekend. We just had this with Bond, right? Where lots of people were projecting, 100 million gonna beat Venom. And it can't, and that's the problem with projections, is then when it didn't hit 100 million, hit 60 million, which is still like the third biggest Bond opening of all time. 56. Yeah, there you go. So it's the third biggest of all time. People are still like, oh, what a disappointment, you know, stuff like that. So it's like, luckily Bond international, huge over there, and not that it's gonna bomb or anything. In a COVID world, that's as best as you can do sometimes. But projections, you never know. But they are making this to be a big deal. And of course, like I said, I make my jokes and whatnot. I'm sure they'll tell a good story. And even then, it doesn't even matter if they are cowards. Walter White's one of the biggest cowards in the, you know, universe, and he's the best story of all time, in my opinion, from a storyline, Breaking Bad from point A to point B. So that can sometimes be interesting. That gives them flaws. But I am curious, with so much quotes from Feige and her and other people, can it live up to that hype? Now, Chloe's on the previews. It's looking, as far as like big scale, absolutely, but it is still, you still got to manage that hype. And I'm very interested to see. Hopefully, it is kind of like a Guardians, like the same way. Even though people were excited for Black Panther, I don't think people thought Black Panther was going to be as special as it was until they saw it. Even myself was like, wow, this really stood out. Even the first Avengers to me had that, like, we were all excited, but once you saw, I was like, geez, like, look what they pulled off. So I'm hoping that's what I get from Eternals. As I sit down, I'm excited because it's an MCU movie, but then after that theater, I go, wow, they really took me for a journey, and it's justified because technically it's the last true Marvel Studio movies this year, right? Yes, Spider-Man No Way Home, but that's not, it's a Sony movie, stuff like that. It has to do with the MCU, but this is their last hurrah of the year. So it's hopefully going to be a big one for them.
Yeah, they continue on and talk about, you know, the movie promises to explore more events following Avengers Endgame. So what's happening in the world at the start of the film, and why are the Eternals called out of hiding? And Chloe Zhao says, well, the film is set after the Avengers are brought back half the population in the universe and on the planet. So the way we look at the event like that, is always for us, it is seen as this huge ecological implication if something like this happened to our planet. So between the ecological implication and the sudden mysterious return of the deviants, it's time for the Eternals to get back to work. They continue on saying, for those not familiar with the Eternals, how would you best explain how they fit in the MCU? Says we like to call them Earth's original superheroes. So they were instructed to stand on the sideline once the deviants were gone to allow humans to develop and progress in a way that they were meant to. And that ultimately led us to someone like Tony Stark. So they've always existed in the shadows, just you never knew when they might show up again, bringing up your cowards point of view. But continuing on, they say, where we are in the MCU right now, there's a lot of multiverse stuff going on both TV and the big screen. Does Eternals help push the multiverse narrative forward, or is it a separate film? She says it completely stands alone. If you know half the universe disappeared and it came back, that's all you need to know to watch this film. But what happens in this film will have huge implications on the future. So that's a lot in a couple of things. What do y'all feel about that?
I think that makes sense. From any of the trailers, I never saw this and be like, oh, multiverse fits in here. Just because Marvel is experimenting with the Marvelverse does not mean I want everything to be the multiverse, right? I don't want Hawkeye all of a sudden be bursting down like, oh, look, it's his variant. No, like that should be like we've talked about before. There's sections of the MCU, the street level, the cosmic. And I think some of the best ones are like I've said before, I think the best MCU movie is Black Panther. Other than a few little details like his dad passing away and some of the events of Civil War, which they pretty much catch you up on the first 10 minutes, it's a pretty standalone movie that you could just watch and love. And a lot of the MCU movies are like that. Once you get in the big crossover stuff, yeah, there's some homework involved, but you shouldn't complain because that's what happens when they literally say, hey, we're crossing over like 15 different characters from different movies. You should probably watch these. But I think some of the best MCU movies are the ones that, are fit in the world, but you could just pick up. You have that argument with Shang-Chi as well, right? That for the most part, there's MCU connections, but you could have that could have been the first MCU movie, right? And then you kick it off there, Iron Man. So I think that's a great way to take, especially with this one. And not that they want to, worry about it, but if it were for a fact, let's say lots of people didn't like it or Bond, well, it was off its own little thing, and now we're back to the MCU. So it's I think it's a smart move for the first Eternals movie.
I have to comment on S-Bubs because it's very clever at that point. I'll have to do it in my best Will Smith. What are we, some kind of first Avengers?
What are we, some kind of first Avengers?
I like this approach. I feel like the Eternals is big enough that you don't need to have the massive team ups for the first outing. I would say I don't know that any other characters from the MCU appear in this movie, but I would say they don't need anyone bigger than what Wong was in Shang-Chi. And yeah, like you're absolutely right, Travis. Shang-Chi could be your first Marvel movie ever, and you would be fine. They would tell you enough. And a couple lines may sound weird to you. Oh, half the population just disappeared and came back. What's that about? By the end of the movie, though, you're going to be like, well, that's believable because I just watched a bunch of dragons and stuff like that. So Eternals is its own thing. Introduce it. Let us get to know these characters. And I truly do mean us because, well, I think it's funny. I've seen a couple people trying to pretend they actually care about changes to the Eternals canon. Let's be perfectly clear here. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Like it's single digits of who truly cares. Eternals is a brand that they can truly they have a lot more room to make changes to, right? You're not going to have Spider-Man just go around and start killing everybody because you're like, that's not Spider-Man. But with the Eternals, like nobody knows who they are, so you can go ahead and make some changes. And
that would be interesting. That would be interesting. I mean, he does have that kill mode on the Iron Spider suit. But last 2 points I thought were interesting. They brought up. They asked about end credits, and she said, yes, don't just stay for the first one, stay for the second one. So we've got 2 end credits. They are equally as important in weight, she says, and both have big surprises for you. And the last one that I thought was interesting is how much stuff is on the cutting room floor. Will we get to see it on home release? And she said, yes, some of it.
Yeah, and that's interesting too because some of the rumors of the runtime have been it's Infinity War level length, right?
That's what we're getting to in the next part.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. So I'll shelve that for then. Then one point I wanted to bring up too when we're talking about the standalone nature. if you look at something like A New Hope, before the prequels, before everything, there's a scene where Obi-Wan sits Luke Skywalker down and explains the whole canon of the world. That's what you can do in these movies. Like, there was a war, your father was a pilot, he got killed the dark side. Obi-Wan's a big liar too. That's a different discussion for Star Wars Alliance. But like, certain point of view, that's what they're gonna do. Oh, we're not cowards, just from a certain point of view. But either way, I think that
whole books are written about that.
Exactly. I'm loving the era so far of, I've said this for Geekverse and I said this on Marvel Alliance before. I'm not a fan of the comedic end credit scene because, or I'm also not a fan of it being the second one. I like if you lead off with that and then the big one. I hate when you sit around and guess what? It's that stupid ant playing drums. The stupid ant playing drums that they showed in the teasers. So that's what was annoying. Like, that's where it's like, okay, you guys are getting a little lazy here. So the fact that there's two big ones, I think they'll kind of be, in my opinion, one will be about the Eternal Squad, like something to do with them, whether it's a setup to a villain for them or just something like that, something even Black Knight related. And then I think the second one, or whichever one of them, would be something overall MCU related. I don't think it would be something like Thanos, but I think it could be setting up something of that level of, could be something like Kang. And again, that's multiverse stuff maybe, so you don't want to do that. Maybe something more, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to just think of other big space cosmic villains and stuff like that. But even then, like someone like Annihilus to me doesn't fit in yet. But I think it will be the similar, that I'm not going to spoil it, the same way Shang-Chi, that we don't exactly know what that end credit scene's about. But when it happened, we went, okay, this is something big. This is going to be something going forward as far as the characters that were in that scene and the thing they were talking about. That's two things setting up something big's going on here. And I think there'll be the same thing here, where we might not exactly know, but it's the breadcrumbs to a next event, a next movie, a next setup, which I'm always down for. Let's keep the train going.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is the first phase of, post Endgame. At that point, we remember, obviously phase 1 was setting up a whole bunch of stuff for a universe that they really originally, kind of fell into, and more pieces started going with. All in the Game says an option on Disney Plus and all streaming services should exist that lets you watch a movie with deleted scenes inserted back into the movie, e.g. Thunderbolt Ross and Mason scenes cut from Black Widow movie. Yeah, I mean, that would be interesting at that point. It's just possibly it may not be in a good cut of it at that point. It may not, it's obvious at that point, so they may want to preserve the integrity. But I have seen, Blu-ray releases, stuff like that do have those recut in.
Yeah, and I like it to be an option because I really didn't like Deadpool 2 did that, and I didn't like some of the stuff they added, and they actually changed some of the music, and I was like, I want the original version back, or George Lucas, speaking of Star Wars, there's sometimes where I may prefer the other one. So
it's his vision, Travis.
It's his vision. Course, it's his vision. Release the Lucas cut. So I think the other reason,
Stop that.
To me, it sounds like she had said before that, she's working free with Marvel and whatnot. But in this interview, I'm not saying that she was like, oh, I really had to cut these scenes. But maybe there's some scenes she wanted to keep. But at the end of the day, I don't think Marvel wants to do a 3-hour film too many times. Like, they've only done it once, and I don't think they want to make that reoccurrence. I think they want to save that for big crossover stuff that, okay, this is a big movie, a next Avengers, a Secret War, even an X-Men. Let's push it. But if you stick in all those 3 hours, it's like, it's at the end of the day, it's still business, and they want to fill as many screens. And when you do 3 hours, it eliminates tons of screens. Extra half an hour is a lot of importance.
Mm-hmm. So moving on, continuing with the Eternals, comicbook.com went back to when Brenda Davis went to set visit way back in January 2020, when set visits were a thing, right before pandemic happened, and was able to visit the set, talked about it, but met with and talked to one of the producers, Nate Moore, and he had some very interesting things to say about this, in the sense of, where it fits in. And Nate Moore said it could be concurrent to Spider-Man Far From Home. Again, they sort of operate on a different system, although Far From Home does take place in London, ironically. So it's sort of undefined time. I don't think it's years have not passed, I will say. Moore estimated that about 60% of the film would be set in the present, and 40% of its runtime would be spent in various points in history of the Eternals history. The Marvel producer went on to say that estimated 60% of the film will take place post Endgame. And so we'll explore the points in the present view based on the newly revealed 156-minute runtime. So that's an estimated 12 minutes of credits. Roughly 86 minutes of the Eternals should take place in modern era, while around 58 minutes in the historical era hopping. More reveal that the Endgame doesn't directly affect Eternals. And I think when this statement was made, obviously the trailers hadn't been coming out, so we know that's necessarily, I think he was kind of deflecting at that point.
So, the Far From Home thing, and like they both take place in London. Far From Home's in London for like a day, like 12 hours or something like that. Like the bulk of that movie does not take place in London. Only the final climax of the movie does. So it's like
the Eternals sure felt like they didn't have to save the day again there, eh? You know,
I might argue they weren't even there. They might not have even been there. But they're shopping at IKEA.
So what do y'all think? 156 minutes in estimated runtime. So again, putting that out there for what, 60% modern, 40% in the past. So 86 minutes in the modern, 58 minutes in historical. What do y'all feel about that?
We're crunching some numbers here. You know, I like the past elements. I kind of already spoke about the runtime. I like the potential jumping back and forth between timelines. So I'm for it as long as it tells the story right, and it doesn't feel like when we hit the 2-hour mark or 2:15, we're like, okay, we could have ended here. We could have chopped some stuff. So hopefully it all feels justified. But again, you got lots of characters right now, and to make them all feel at least semi-important or semi-attached to them, whether a good guy or bad guy, they got to have a little bit of time.
Yeah, I like it. Overall, give me the choice. In general, I would prefer the movies that move the timeline forward in general, but it can be fun to look at holes in the past and fill them in a little bit. And it looks like this movie is going to give us a decent variety of both of those. I think it sounds fine. The bulk of the movie is going to be in the present day, so we can, the movie officially takes place in the present day, basically. That works for me.
And, with, as you jokingly say, Travis, all the time, that they're cowards at this point, we do need to see what was going on where they're coming from and where they have been and why they did not intervene outside of the so-called rule. Once the deviants were put down, they were just meant to step aside. Well, we kind of need to see how that looks like. And if, like from Neil Gaiman's run, the idea that they were, they'd forgotten who they were. They went amnesiac or something happened that they forgot who they were, and maybe the snap woke them up. So,
yeah, and I think they're going to play off that a little bit, but I'm excited. I'm excited to find out. Yeah, all jokes aside, I'm sure they'll give me a reason. Hopefully, it is a good one and it's well written. I don't want just to be a couple lines throwaway and go, oh, okay, that's it, and then we move forward, because then it is that, oh, you really didn't have too much to do and you just wanted to write something. But alas, there's worse things in the MCU. Ralph Boner.
Well,
you gotta let that go.
No, he won't. He'll never let it go.
Never gonna happen.
He'll never.
I'm gonna die with that. It's gonna be the last words. Ralph, but until Multiverse of Madness happens and I see Evan Peters playing actual Quicksilver, then I will forgive said Kevin Feige. But until then, it's a scar. It's a deep, deep scar.
You better be careful. He doesn't want to Ralph Boner his trivia game either. So you never know.
There better not be a Ralph Boner question, Chris. I swear. Be banned.
Be banned. Well, we've got some Spider-Man news coming up. I think this is a good transition point where we can do a quick ad break before we get into some web slinging. Somehow the Eternals returned.
Yes. Shout out to the great writing of Rise of Skywalker. Exactly. Yes. I don't want that. I don't want, oh, well, we missed some stuff.
Oops.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take our second ad break. So again, as always, these ads keep the lights on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they can be a bit loud. So I'll give you that 3 count to turn that volume down before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. All right, so we've got some web slinging action. We've got some Spider-Man news on 2 different fronts, in live action and in animation. So this dropped today. Tom Holland is opening up more about Spider-Man No Way Home. A couple of things before we get to kind of some sites have turned into a clickbaity incorrectly statement and misinterpreting what Mr. Holland had said. In talking about, what his experience with, he's saying the first film with director John Watts and I were sort of flying by the seat of our pants. This one, I think we've really felt so confident. We were able to relax. We're actually able to have much more fun on this one than we did the previous 2. In No Way Home, Peter's trying to juggle his newfound infamy, schoolwork, and burgeoning relationship with NJ. and he turns to Benedict Cumberbatch for a magical fix, inadvertently triggering a cascade of the universe of universal problems. And we come to some of the more interesting parts of the article where he says, we were all treating No Way Home as the end of a franchise. Let's say, he adds, I think if we were lucky enough to dive into these characters again, you'd be seeing a very different version. It would no longer be the Homecoming trilogy. We would give it some time and try to build something different and tonally change the films. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. But we were definitely treating No Way Home as if it were coming to an end, and it felt like it. Brent, please say for our listeners point out some key parts of this so they can separate the fact from the clickbait.
Well, right here, the Homecoming trilogy, even referring to it that way, that means Travis gets his wish. Spider-Man 4 in the MCU will not have home in the title. That's basically what he's saying. He's just saying these 3 films, they were a trilogy. They were a block. They're taking Peter on an arc, and now they are saying, if we are lucky enough to do it again. Well, again, we know they're going to do more. Like there's going to be more Spider-Man. What is it going to look like? I don't know yet. I think it is going to look different because I think Spider-Man 4 will effectively not be in the MCU universe, but rather one of the other universes as part of the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse. That's what I think is going to happen. And so I think that will be something very different and totally change the films. And you know what? After 3 movies, you can do that. You can totally change it. That's okay to do. This doesn't make me think we're any closer to Tom Holland being done as Spider-Man than I did before reading this quote.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. I took it as, because some people took it as, oh yeah, he's talking about leaving, he's negotiating. For me, I just took it as he's almost confirming that he's going to be doing a Spider-Man 4, because I feel like when he's just like, oh, we'd have to go in a totally new direction, I feel that means whoever it is, him and somebody have been kicking around tires like, okay, well, what would we do after this, you know? And I feel like even then, if they have a big divorce and the MCU and Sony don't work together, which I don't think will happen, but let's say it happens again, I still think Sony would make more Spider-Man film with Tom Holland attached to it. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think you look at Tom Holland, he's in Uncharted. Sony knows he's a big star. There might be some sort of, custody divorce battle over Tom Holland because Disney put him in Onward. He's a likable, marketable young guy, right? So I feel like a lot of studios would want him, but I don't think it's anytime. I just think it would be like, yeah, this is a chapter in the character's life. It would be good to go a different direction. I think if all these rumors are true of all these different characters, it's going to set up a big 4 as far as like, okay, you went through a lot of, drama with the identity being revealed, maybe other Spider-Man. I'm sure him and MJ will be going through some stuff. Lots of things are going to be happening, and I feel like that sets up for a great 4th one, whether it's trauma, whether that's him just going to college, whether that is something like, hey, even then we've talked about like, hey, what if Ned actually does become a Hobgoblin? I feel like that's going to be some good stuff to chew on in the next one. So I feel like it's just him literally just saying like, yeah, we're probably, he's saying we're luckily going to do 4. He's not luckily. He knows like that's just such like a safe statement, but
because he knows he's in for a pay increase.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like, I feel it's just him literally saying like, yeah, this is the end of an era in a sense, but we're moving on. The same way the Endgame was the end of the MCU for a portion, and then we move forward with new characters and new stories. So the same thing, whether it's like Brent saying he's in a different world, whether it's just he's at college, whether it is just it's a new movie, new villain, new circumstances. There's lots still left on the table, and I think he's not going anywhere. And I like the quotes enough. It's people, they're spitting stuff, but they got it.
I like what Zaki Hassan said on Twitter about this. Robert Downey Jr. was done after Iron Man 3 also.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I might argue his best work has come since that movie. So,
and remember, college is another world for some people. So there's that. I do like S.
Home away from home.
No. Look at that.
I thought we were done.
Yep, I like S-Bub saying Tom Holland fired from the MCU by Kathleen Kennedy. Yeah, so much wrong with that, but so right. So another part of Spider-Man news, rumor from the Cosmic Circus, the supposed Into the Spider-Verse sequel title has possibly been revealed. Thanks to LinkedIn. Thank you, LinkedIn, and for posting job postings at that point. They've discovered a CFX supervisor who also worked on the first film. It appears that the sequel on their LinkedIn resume is listing Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So with this title, What do you think's gonna happen, Travis?
I think Miles Morales is gonna walk out his door, and J. Jonah Jameson's gonna beat him up and take his costume. And no, I think that
And reveal himself to be Miles for everyone.
exactly. No, I think that from this title and from the end credit or the ending part of Spider-Verse, which is to me the weakest part of that movie. I hate that they end it not just Miles listening to music, they end it with a little tag, and I don't like that, but that's fine. It's gonna be him kind of instead of the multiverse coming to him, he's going into the multiverse. He's gonna be jumping around. I just like that this is confirmation. I like the title, it makes sense. Keep Spider-Verse in the title because most people just call it Spider-Verse, like for short, right? Just, oh, I love Spider-Verse. So it's just like, keep that there. It's a simple title. I'm happy that works going on to it. And I cannot wait because by the time this comes out, my oldest for sure, and then maybe my second youngest, well, who knows now? I got so many kids, can't keep track of them. My first will be old enough already, but my second will probably be old enough as well. And they love Spider-Verse. I could probably go on record saying that's their favorite comic book movie. Yes, it's because anime, but there's something good that when they're watching the Frozens and the Moanas, when it becomes one of those movies that they recommend and not just like, oh, hey, dad wants to watch a superhero movie, what should it be? When they request Spider-Verse, that's when you go, okay, they've seen other comic book ones, other animated ones. This is a big deal. And I'm very excited to see what they're going to do. I'm still a little worried as far as I don't like that the OG directors aren't back. I still find that's a little odd. You win an Oscar and you don't get the same crew. But alas, I'll be very excited for opening day when this happens. And good title.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited because again, we got those end credits that's posted. You get Spider-Man 2099, voiced by Oscar Isaac. So I'm very excited to see more of him in one of my favorite incarnations of Spider-Man. Maybe Brent and I may be hoping for a Ben Reilly, possibly.
Oh my gosh, don't tease me like that. No.
I know, but we got so many different. If we can get him in that blue hoodie,
I couldn't handle that. That'd be too much.
Brent would be that GIF where the woman is just melting in the back of the
pretty much. That'd be me. I like this title, and it's probably going to be Miles goes to Peter B. Parker's universe, Miles hops to Gwen's universe, and so on. And hopefully 2 or 3 new spiders as well. Don't just stick with the same ones we had, but let's see some new takes on spiders. Ben Reilly aside, any spiders, they're all welcome. And I'm with you, Travis. Like my son adores this movie. Miles is his favorite spider. He will happily tell you, because I hear it 3 or 4 times a week, that Miles is his favorite Spider-Man and Peter is my favorite Spider-Man. I'm like, yeah, you're absolutely right, buddy. But they're both awesome, and I would love to. I'm really looking forward to this. I'll go see it myself first because you want to watch it yourself and enjoy the movie before you take the kid who's going to talk you throughout, and then I will hopefully get the opportunity to take him as well.
Mm-hmm. And the idea of what could possibly be a villain for this one would be also interesting. If we're jumping into the multiverse, there's definitely opens up some interesting ones. Again, with Kingpin and then a female version of Doc Ock was a nice little switch, voiced by the great Catherine Hahn.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think this one's gonna be just complete madness, and it's fun. We have we got Doc Ock in the trailer. You got No Way Home. You got the Flash coming up. You had Loki. You have Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I love that we're getting into this really kind of weird, fun era that we've done in comics, we've done in animated form, but now we're getting into the movies. And I'm excited just for the GA for people that have no idea. Like, there's people that have no idea, like with Miles, like now they know, but before that, they just thought it was Peter Parker, right? They have no idea about the Spider-Verses or Spider-Geddon and stuff like that. Like all these, like, it's a common trope for Spider-Man to have like a clone, a bunch of different versions. So I'm very much looking forward to the GA getting affiliated with the multiverse concept and whatnot. So
yeah, it'll be fun seeing what happens, but we'll see if that title, it makes the most sense to hold to that, but we'll see. I think it's got an estimated 2023 possible release
so far, but yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah,
and S-Bubs is right. They did say that Jessica Drew is supposed to. That's still just a rumor right now, but she is in the sequel. So yeah, we'll get some cool new Spider people.
I think Spider-Verse is currently listed for 2022, isn't it?
I thought it was 2023. Like, I thought maybe it was 2022 and then it moved to 2023. But hey, if it is 2022,
October 7th, 2022.
Okay. All right. We'll take it.
And that makes sense because the first one was December, right? So it's
Yep.
kind of in that fall season and whatnot.
Mhm.
So yeah, hey, sooner the better. Let's get it. I'm not gonna complain if I'm getting it next year. So
That first one I saw a couple weeks early at one of those fan screenings.
Same
and
here.
It was just
Yeah,
one of
same
those
here.
like,
Yeah.
this is something special. I know this is a special movie here, and we'll see if they can recapture the magic.
Yeah, me and Dylan from Geekverse, we drove 4 hours to see it early. At that was the closest theater. We're like, we're going, and we went, and it was a good time. So
Yeah, I'll thank Sony PlayStation for giving out those free tickets.
yep,
So.
100%.
S-Bubs is right, by the way. Jessica Drew's not a rumor. Variety reported it.
Okay.
But technically, even if Variety and Deadline report something, it could still be a rumor till it's confirmed, right? Like technically, they've not confirmed Jamie Foxx, but it's out there. It's just because I feel like with that being such an A tier, so many times we do go, "Oh, it's confirmed," but sometimes it's not. I live in a day and age where Alec Baldwin was confirmed to be Thomas Wayne in the Batman or in the Joker by like Deadline, and then a day later, like, no, that's completely wrong. So
this Variety article doesn't even say sources say Variety has learned. It just says is.
There we go. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. If it's the exclusive, that's still technically not news, or like it's not confirmed to him. But if it's just reported and it's backed up, then hey, that's awesome and that's great. I'm excited to see if she's going to be in like a different universe that we already know, or is she in her own separate universe? And like Chris said, like what is the villain? We've heard rumors of the Spot, and even then, like I think we'll get a bunch of like different random villains too, like the switch ups and stuff. So
I hope they could seed the Inheritors. Morlun and his family, are Spider-Geddon villains.
Yeah,
and I was gonna say an evil Spider-Man is it's sitting right there. It's it's a trope that hasn't really been done yet, unless you count Venom in the GA. So
as an evil Spider-Man,
I
mean Dr. Octopus.
Yes, no, I meant like for like in the general audience, like on screen, like Spider-Man's versing a bad Spider-Man. But yeah, that'd be a really cool twist, because I feel like that'd be maybe the only way we'd get him in the next like 5 to 10 years of that version of Spider-Man, if it was in this. So because that'd be cool if like the last time you saw Doc Ock, it was Liv. And now this time it's like you never meet the real, like the OG Doc Ock. It's always different variations, and this one's the Spider-Man. And it'd be cool because they would think they would trust him. And it's like, oh, this is Peter Parker for sure. And that'd be that reveal again. But you don't want to make it seem too much. But yeah,
it would be cool, like we said, seeing a symbiote or Venom in this movie. I think it's almost like fans would love to see it, at least in this animation style.
Or do they do that like the game and save that for like a third one, right? Do they maybe go, hey, that's so big of a storyline, we do like a bunch of symbiotes, even though Venom's popping off and doing a bunch of symbiotes apparently. But like, hey, I think you're right though, just seeing the animation style of what a Venom would look like in this world, very, very cool. So the possibilities are endless with that team. Like they did such a good job that first one. So like that's why I am disappointed that some of them aren't back. But hopefully they still got the core there. So
yeah, we'll see. So hopefully next year that'll be a great thing for us to review on the show. So all right, so last story, a surprise, also another surprise drop. Hawkeye has dropped a new trailer. We're not going to do a breakdown of it because when all three of us watched it, there were only a couple of new scenes, but a very big inclusion with this one. This is something a lot of us have been worried about. Linda Cardellini's Laura Barton is finally confirmed to be in the series. And the speaking part, so it looks like they are still together. So the rumors are, we don't see her, so she's dead, or they divorced. So it looks like Clint is in New York working at some point, probably got another job, but so she's on the phone with him at some point. And then I think we get some more footage of Rogers the musical.
Yeah, and that's what I took it as a trailer that's the reason they're in New York, is just for a trip into like to see the musical and have a fun time with his kids, which is gonna be interesting. I want to see if he gets like kind of any PTSD from that, because he's been in New York a few times and it's been kind of not
destroyed.
Yeah, kind of destroyed and whatnot. But I do like that she's in there, because I always thought she'd appear in the show, and even from this trailer I think they're almost insinuating she won't be in it that much, but still I did not want to say off screen, she's gone and not in this. We didn't want to spend a little bit more for her, so I really like the small bits of their dynamic we've gotten. So hopefully there's like at least one solid episode where she's in it for quite a bit, and I like Linda Cardellini, so yeah, I'm very happy she's back.
But Brent, what was the big reveal at the end of this trailer that they kind of surprised us with?
Yeah, they are going to be dropping 2 episodes to start us off with on the 24th of November, episodes 1 and 2. Which means, first of all, from a business standpoint, this makes sense because you wrap up Hawkeye, and then a week later you have the Book of Boba Fett. Personally, I was kind of looking forward to having a weekend with both of those, but regardless, 2 episodes at once. Or 2 episodes on that first day, I think is going to be a lot of fun for us to watch. I'm just going to have to get up a little extra early to make sure I have time to fit those both in before work. And the thing that really caught my eye,
such a tough thing for you to do.
I'll get over it the day before Thanksgiving break. The thing that really caught my eye, I was looking at the calendar. This means episode 5 now comes out a few days prior to Spider-Man No Way Home, and that's the rumored episode that may or may not have some sort of tie-in to Spider-Man. Both take place in the wintertime from set photos and things like that, and around Christmas. So we'll see. And of course, there's those rumors of characters from glorious television shows appearing in both of these respected projects as well. So hopefully some of that tracks.
What are you more excited for, the show overall, Brent, or just episode 5 to get there? Because I feel like anytime Hawkeye ring comes up, you're like, oh, episode 5 means it's this and this.
There's absolutely no question. I have a lot of hype for that episode if these Vincent D'Onofrio rumors are true. Now, if they're not true, I'm still going to watch the show and be able to enjoy the show for what it is, because it's not their fault that rumors are out there. It's not the show's fault, and I'm not going to hold that against the show. But yes, I adore the Daredevil show. I think that is anyone who tells me that's their favorite comic book show, I get it. I can't argue with you. I don't know where I would rank mine, but it's up there. I absolutely adore that show. So yes, if Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin is back, then, and it makes so much sense with Echo coming to this, and she's supposed to be getting a show and stuff. I really, really hope it's true. Canon, not canon, starting it over, rebooting the character, just picking up where they left off. I don't even care. But of course, I am excited for Hawkeye in general, but I'll also be honest, it's not my favorite Avenger. He's not my favorite character. He, on like the list of like the original 6, he's probably number 6 as far as ranking my favorites. And so who are you going to put below him? Who's below him?
Black Widow for sure.
I just think she's more interesting. But that doesn't mean I don't like him. I do like him. I think Jeremy Renner is a good Hawkeye. I don't think he's always been given the best material to work with. Maybe that's not even, I don't mean to imply he's had bad material. Let me phrase it this way. I don't think he's been given a lot of material to work with. So I'm looking forward to getting a solo project with him, or effectively a solo project, obviously introducing Kate Bishop. But yes, absolutely. Any potential for Kingpin, I am very excited for that to hopefully play out.
Yeah, I would say, again, like, Hawkeye's not one of my favorite characters. I was more excited. What I got more excited about was what the show is based off of, Fraction's run at that point. That got me excited. It got me more excited to see the characters that are going to be in the show. Echo, Kate Bishop, and just kind of the dynamics of the passing of the torch. A whole episode on even a half an episode on the pizza dog at that point. Come on, it's just following the dog around. Pay attention, listeners. That's going to be coming to you real soon. It was this, all those concepts together. So it's not necessarily excited about Hawkeye itself, the character, but everything surrounding the character. What's going to be involved in the show is what I'm excited to see.
So I will defend my boy here a little bit, because he's just getting thrown in the mud. That moment where
thrown in the mud. I like him, and I'm glad he's getting a solo project.
No, it's just like the internet. You hate him now.
Slander.
It's just like when Thor and Ragnarok, when he's like strongest Avenger. Apparently, Hawkeye for these guys, he says weakest Avenger. But like,
well, that's true.
Wait a minute. Let's not put words in our mouths. That one.
No.
He's your 6th, and I just said he's not my favorite Avenger. I didn't say it was the weakest. Let's not put words in people's mouths.
I will. No. I'll say he's
fine.
The weakest Avenger.
Fine. There we go.
So doesn't mean he's not a good character, but he's definitely the weakest.
Out of all of us here, I got him the highest. I got him at 4, maybe even 3. Now, here's the thing.
Jeez.
I'm the reverse, where I actually am more excited for. I've been wanting a solo Hawkeye for a long time.
He's deserved it. He's deserved it.
He's good in the role. Obviously, we're not going to get no classic costume, so that sucks. but I really like his casting. I always felt he's underutilized. But the thing is, why I'd have to go back to the Geek First episode. We ranked after that Comic-Con when they did that whole panel of like all this stuff coming out, like what we ranked, we were most excited.
Summer 2019. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the Hawkeye show was for sure my top 5, maybe top 3, because of, like I said, what they did with him in Endgame. And to me, he had one of, if not, you could argue the most interesting character development in that movie of what he went through. So to me, the fact that we're going to get a show that's kind of him recovering, him after that, him with his family, it's all those things you guys mentioned. Echo, maybe a Fisk appearance, Pizza Dog, Kate Bishop, Vera Farmiga, who
and Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh, absolutely. Vera Farmiga, who I loved, one of the best actresses around. There's all these like great like window dressings around that also make it like, oh, I'm really excited. But what they could do with Hawkeye, that's why, like I've said before, my only worry is so far the trailers have leaned very comedic. I think as they've shown with Falcon Winter Soldier and whatnot, they will get deeper. But if they don't with Hawkeye and if he's just back to like Civil War era Clint, that's a huge missed opportunity. And I don't think they will, because I think the second he sees that Ronin costume, I think that will bring back memories. I hope it's literally just not someone stressing at me and I'm going to stop them. So I think the end game part of it all is what makes me so excited. Out of the shows that we got for this starting one, I think WandaVision and Hawkeye were pretty neck and neck. Loki, I was more excited as we got to, but at first I was like, okay, like what are we doing? It could be fun. Falcon Winter Soldier, actually, I've kind of been all excited for all these Disney Plus shows. So it's more the movies, I guess, that came out this year again. Yeah, for me, Hawkeye, I'm very excited to see what we could do. And if it springboards some other stuff, great. I'm all here for it. So I cannot wait. The only question I'll ask you guys is, how come they didn't pivot? And so they're clearly they do not want to mix live action Star Wars and Marvel yet. I think in 2022, I feel like me and Taylor talked about this Geek for a few weeks ago. There's going to be at a point where it might happen when you have like Obi-Wan, like Andor, Mando, and then all this stuff, and then you have Miss Marvel, Moon Knight. Maybe they'll plan it out, but how come they just didn't do an episode a week early? We've seen that with Loki, where they had a premiere date, and then like a month earlier, they're like, no, it's actually on Wednesday now, and they switch. So it's not that they haven't switched dates before in shows. So how come they just didn't do, okay, we're going to do Hawkeye 1 week earlier and do that out? Why do you think they went with the 2?
I mean, I think it's a good question. I don't have a good answer. I'd have to look at the Disney, whatever else for Disney Plus has been scheduled, has been announced. I mean, maybe they wanted to give a little bit of time for the new stuff that started coming out on Disney Plus Day, the 12th. Pure speculation. Just give a little bit more separation.
True.
I honestly don't know, but it feels like we know there's stuff coming to Disney Plus Day, and then maybe they want to keep the Marvel people spread out over multiple months, something like that. I mean, they would have anyway. To me, it's an empty. They easily could have moved it up a week and just, go the 18th or whatever it is the week before.
Yeah.
So I don't really know, but I'm not going to be too upset.
Yeah, it could have just been like they wanted to kind of keep the date. They already had promotion for it. They didn't want to kind of call those back and change it at that point. But also, as we said, the Book of Boba Fett is the Bad Batch was the Bad Batch at that point. It was not the Mandalorian by any stretch of the imagination. So since we're not getting Mando season 3 this year, this is the biggest thing for Star Wars right now. And so to give them the due of 100%. Like we get this character that basically had little to no lines in its series, has had this cult following and built it up to get his own show. Yeah, this is a way of saying, okay, we get to keep our date. We'll end on time. Give Boba Fett their rights. But you're right, they could have done it. But I think it became down to money and promotional materials already ready to go.
Well, yeah, and I do think you made a good point with Boba Fett. Boba Fett is you could argue one of it's definitely could be a top 5 most popular character just because the look and the lore about him and everything like that, right? Like he's a character that fans are like, how many requests have there been over the years of like a Boba Fett, like something in canon, like I know they did things in Legend, but a movie, a TV show, and even way back in the day when Lucasfilm had bought Disney had bought Lucasfilm, they were about to make a Boba Fett movie with Josh Trank, and they pulled the plug just right before that. So it's been a long time coming, and I do think having another episode with the premiere of Boba is not that bad. I think having the finale and then the premiere of Boba, I think that is cannibalizing one another. I think that's too much as far as like one's going to get the bigger talk.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's just another episode. Okay, that's fine unless it's like a big twist. But the finale, you want all eyes on Hawkeye. You want all eyes on whatever's going to happen. Hell, like we don't think this, but let's say, what if they did kill off Clint Barton? Do you really want that to be, oh, that happened? But guess what? Boba Fett's also here. You know,
no, you're absolutely right, and
Yeah.
that would happen. But I mean, just think of it this way: we have Hawkeye, and then a week later, Boba Fett. It's still gonna be a lot of fun, and I'm excited for it. Mandalorian is my favorite Star Wars thing, so I am excited for this spinoff of Mandalorian because that's what it is at this point. It's a spinoff of that, and I mean, oh darn, I have 2 Hawkeye episodes in one day, and then when that's over, I get Star Wars. It's fine. We'll be good.
Yeah, it'll be good. And again, I've changed the intro to the show to reflect the apartment complex that supposedly, at least in the comics, that Mr. Barton is living in.
There you go.
So we will see, and we will get into that in a little bit. But that is all the news that's fit to talk about right now, gentlemen. So let us head into some feedback. I don't think we had any listener questions this week, Brent, did we?
Not that I saw. So if I missed it, I'm sorry.
Yep,
I was scared. They didn't want me to roast them. They didn't want me to go after them.
All right, so I've got my fact or fiction from last week pulled up while Travis gets his ready to talk about. So first one, the MCU version of the Fantastic Four will not be time-displaced superpowered family. They will stay tied to the MCU present-day timeline. 69% said fact, 31% said fiction. What say you, Mr. Snell?
I went with that they would be saying, like, they would be fact, like it. The fact is they're not time displaced, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I went with. Just because I think we talked about this before. We did that with Captain America. We did that with Captain Marvel. I think not exactly, and not time displaced, but just like most of the movies taking place in a flashback or in the, oh, look, we found this dude in the eyes. What's his story? Like, I think if it would have been like, oh, we found this rocket ship, and then the whole movie's a flashback. We're also getting that with Eternals. So could it be too samey? And I also still think that there's a really good chance. I still buy in those rumors of they may do Wolverine, but he may be also in the past. So I think it's one of these things there. I feel Infinity War and Endgame completely set up like why they might want to send some sort of team out into space. And there you go. And I think that's the right way to do. Not the right way. I won't say that, but I think that it can work. It doesn't have to be timeless display. So I'm a fact.
Mm-hmm. Number 2, as a result of the first MCU X-Men movie, at least 2 solo spin-off projects will be greenlit based on characters introduced in the film. 76% said fact, 24% said fiction.
That was a tough one because to say 2 from that, because I like that's almost insinuating that you'd get the X-Men team and then they'd say like, oh, there's 2 solo films coming out from these potential members. So I actually went fiction because I feel like you could get them, but I don't know if they would be based off in the movie necessarily. But at the end of the day, they also did a Disney Plus like or whatever Investors Days last year where they just like, here, you get a show and you get a show. So there's always a chance. So I went fiction just on the based off the first one, but I could easily be wrong.
Okay. And last one, we will see a live action Guardians of the Multiverse project. 12% said fact, 88% said fiction. Even I said fiction, but my heart wants it.
It'd be great, especially it's a shame that Bozeman isn't around for a lot of things, but that'd be great. But I would even like if it wasn't a movie, if they were in a scene or how I've pitched how Doctor Strange goes to see Captain Carter, how he's going through multiverse, that's how we bump into her. Maybe not Multiverse of Madness, but in the future, if we bump into like that Thor, that Killmonger, that Gamora, like just a collection of them and like doing a mission or something, I think that's possible. I think a cameo sort of scene in a world's possible. A whole movie, that one's tough, but you never know. We have many crazy things in the MCU, so.
Yep, anything's on the table. All right, so got your 3 to talk about?
Yeah, so there's 2 Spider-Man 1. I did not plan that, but the Spider-Verse kind of made it a second one at time, and so I went with this. So Spider-Verse 2, I guess it's, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse will go into 2 pre-existing multiverses. So that would be a video game, that would be a Toby, Andrew, Tom movie, that would be, the 90s animated one, Spectacular Spider-Man, 90s Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man. That's the reason I went with 2.
Spider-Man in Japan?
Exactly, whatever it may be. That's why I went with 2, because 1, okay, that could be very easy, just one scene of credit, but they technically didn't even do that in the first movie, right? So that's what I'm saying. Will they go into at least 2 pre-existing multiverses, Spider-Man multiverses?
I will say fact, because especially with the way the title came out today, I think it is time for us to explore a lot of these different areas, and it just could be fun, even if you'd only spend a few minutes in each one at that point. It's definitely going to be more than 2.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to say fact as well. We already know they have the desire to do it because one, that Spider-Man 2099 credit scene sort of jumps back to the Spider-Man 66 time, and
True.
then
Yeah.
I mean, sort of, not exactly, but it's the idea. And then on top of that, they flat out said like there were talks of getting the movie actors to come in and voice roles.
Mm-hmm.
And so I will agree. Will it be them necessarily? I don't know, but it would be pretty awesome to see a revisit some of these past incarnations of animated Spider-Man, like the '90s Spider-Man cartoon. I would love to see that.
Oh, that'd be fun.
I want to be in a theater with some great speakers, hearing that glorious god awful theme song that I love. That Spider-Man, radioactive. Yeah, that I want to hear that so much.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, I think it's a fact. The thing that interests me the most is they've told that story many times, Lord and Miller, where it's like they talked about doing Toby and Andrew, but then they're like, it might be too soon. I wonder now with No Way Home if they are in there, which they're in there. Would Sony be like, that's almost too samey, like let's not do that again? But I think Chris is right where there's two, there'd be one, but I think Japan Spider-Man is a lock. I would bet of my house. I'd bet I maybe won't bet my children's souls or anything like that, but like I bet a lot saying that like Japan, because they had like joked around, and I just feel like that's an easy multiverse to go into. Maybe that's where even Penny Parker is, like she can, like there's some connection there. Like
if you have not, listeners, if you have not watched Marvel 616 about Spider-Man in Japan at that point, it is really worth your time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's the best episode, and it's really good.
It's quite impressive, especially if you are a Power Rangers fan. I am watching this that whole time and saying, "Oh my gosh!" And then at the end, it's "Oh my gosh!" They took so much from this one show. So check it out. To
be clear, Power Rangers borrowed from elements from Spider-Man. Like,
yes,
it all comes back to Spider-Man.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's a great one. So check that out. So we're all fact on that one. So here's my second one. You guys were both talking about him earlier, so I thought this was a fun way to go. We will see Spider-Man 2099, aka oh my god, Miguel O'Hara. I almost forgot his name. Miguel O'Hara, before we see Ben Reilly. So purely live action though, not animated. Because animated, we've already had that. And I feel like Ben Reilly, I'm with you guys. If you guys have seen me for Halloween, I dyed my hair for Ben Reilly. I love Ben Reilly. I want that so much, but the Clone Saga has a lot of baggage, so it's not as easy. So I guess I'm showing my hand that I am a fact, but I feel like it's easier to do somehow Spider-Man 2099 first than it is we're doing the Clone Saga with Tom Holland or one of the Spider-Man. So I'm a fact that we'll see Miguel first, live action.
You're taking my soul, man.
Well, and I also think my last point is too, and we've always talked about like, would Sony ever do another Spider-Man movie that's not, Tom right now, or whether it be like a Spider-Man 4 or a Miles? I could easily see them saying we are making a live action just solo Spider-Man 2099. I could not see that in the present future, them saying that with Ben Reilly, because again, the baggage, right? That'd be a lot of setup. Who would the Spider-Man? You could easily do Miguel O'Hara. Just say, hey, we're doing Spider-Man meets Blade Runner. Boom, there's your pitch. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of them just saying we're doing a separate Spider-Man project at that point. The only way I lean possibly that they'll do Ben first is just because of how much he's coming back into the comics right now.
Yes,
that
absolutely.
They are pushing it very, very hard. J.M. DeMatteis is getting another shot at focusing on the lost years of Ben. At that point, he's very excited about it.
It's fantastic news.
Yeah, and so if I'm gonna lean, you said it'd be sooner that 2099 over Ben.
Yeah, that's what I said. That Miguel appears live action first before Ben Reilly.
I say fiction. I say Ben's gonna come. It's again a lot of baggage, and that's a very, very close fiction to fact. So,
and again, I want them both, and I would love it if we get, if they do a blonde Tom Holland, and there he is. I still think that in the movie world they wouldn't do that. I think they'd get an actor that looks like Tom, that's good, and just say, oh, genetically, like something happened, and he doesn't look exactly, because I don't think Tom Holland be like, yeah, I'm also going to play Ben Reilly in a different franchise along with. I feel like that'd be a lot of work. So I feel like you get someone where it's very similar to Tom, but not Tom,
Yeah.
Miguel is definitely easier. I mean, Spider-Man from the future, you have it right there. And if you're if you're Sony and you want to do Spider-Man 2099, you don't even need to explain anything like that. I mean, there's nothing to explain.
No.
Yeah.
This movie is set in 2099.
Yeah.
Like, there you go, problem solved. But honestly, like the more I think about it, I don't think I would rule out some variation of the Clone Saga eventually. I wouldn't. So I'm going to say it's fact 2099 is first, but I would not rule out Clone Saga, some version eventually. Have you ever read the real Clone Saga, which is like 4-issue, super massively streamlined version of it? Basically, they could do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They could do Spider-Man the Clone Saga and make it a 2.5-hour movie, and they could definitely do. Would you have to cut a whole lot of it out? Of course you would, but you know what? There's a whole lot of the Clone Saga that was added in just to keep it going longer and longer. Like the sewer trainer character, like you could cut him out. Like you could cut out the Dr. Octopus stuff. You really would just need the Jackal, Kane, and Ben, and that would fit in one movie.
Man, if we ever live to a point where I see a live action movie, or if I see like a Disney Plus day reveal or whatever it may be, and it's Spider-Man, and then they reveal that the Clone Saga, I'm gonna faint. That's like for me like a level of like Michael Keaton coming back or Tobey coming back, because it's just one of these things like I never thought I'd see it live action. I guess I should feel like that after Endgame because so much stuff happened, but it's still just like there's so, and as somebody that loved the Clone Saga, like I know people have their problems and I get it, but like I
don't.
I ate that gimmick up so much. I loved it. 100%. I love Ben Reilly. So if we ever get to that point where it's live action, man, that'd be quite the. As Bob says, Asa Butterfield is Ben Reilly. Well, yeah, because he was really close to playing Peter in what was it, Civil War. So
I will not revealing any spoilers. I've enjoyed the first 2 issues.
Oh, I've not read them yet. I'm very excited to. I've not gotten time.
Ben coming back.
Yep, Ben coming back. Yep, I've enjoyed the first 2 issues.
That's
fine. That's all I'm saying. I promise you nothing more.
So much, and I would love to see it someday, like some version. Even if at this point they're long past doing stuff with the MCU, but Sony still has the rights to the characters. Fine, I would love to see it.
Yeah, no, I'm saving up those after this fandom weekend because I've been busy and doing the Extra Life thing. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna read these back to back. I'm looking very excited for that. So my final one is, so for Disney Plus Day, more than 3 new Marvel Disney Plus shows will be announced. So my motivation for going 3 is we've heard these rumors about Agatha, and then we already have the 10 Ring shows, which we kind of like. You saw Shang-Chi, you probably know, and then there's more rumors about them, right? So for me, if I were to say just 2, well, that's kind of easy. So 3 would be we got 1 more, and then 1 more after that.
Yeah,
Echo and done.
Yep.
So you think they'd announce Echo before Hawkeye?
Yeah, maybe.
I think what they'll do with Echo is when Hawkeye ends, you'll get how they set up the 10 rings. You'll get that, but with Echo.
Yeah, that would be in credits. Yeah,
there's definitely something to be said about that, but I wouldn't rule it out. I'm going to go ahead and give you a fact on this. I think it's possible, but I do think we already have 2 of them locked up.
Yes,
at this point, announce Agatha.
2 more.
I've been saying since I saw Shang-Chi the first time that 10 Rings is going to be announced on Disney Plus Day. So yeah, I'm definitely in for that. And you only need 1 more. That could be.
Well, no, you need 2 more. I said more than 3, Brent.
Oh, more than 3. Okay, 2 more.
Yeah.
Okay. I misunderstood. I was thinking it was 3.
Yeah. That changes everything.
It does. I'm going to go ahead and switch to fiction because I think 3 is the number. I think 3 is the number because I don't see them going too far out there beyond that, because I think there's going to be other stuff, potentially other Marvel related stuff that they're going to announce, even with potentially, that Marvel Legacy section. I think that's going to maybe get a couple announcements in there as well, a couple Spider related ones, you might say. So I think they're still going to bring more Marvel content to Disney Plus, just not necessarily those new shows.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say fiction on that, since he said more than 3 at that point. It's just it's tough for me to say, especially the more and more they're trying to, I wouldn't say downplay expectations, but keep them more realistic of how much Marvel stuff we're getting with this featurette of the future of the MCU at that point.
When you put out this poll, I would phrase it as 4 or more.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, no, I will do. Yeah. Because 4 or more breaks 3. Yeah, I'm fiction as well, because I know we've had these rumors about the Monica show. I honestly don't think that would be announced right now.
What if season 2? Like the director, like they've talked about it. Directors and writers have talked about it. We know it's happening, but like we don't have that like official title card. What if season 2, like we've got for all the other shows? Would that count?
Well, the way they spoke on Phase 0 this week, it sounds like that's a little bit more a ways than next year, because they said it takes over a year to animate this series alone.
So, and what I will do for the tweet too, to put this out, I will say new shows, because What If could be, but I feel like that's enough confirmed where that would be a 3 technically, but that's just kind of like, oh yeah, we're still making Loki season 2, stuff like that. So that's why I'd say the 3 new ones. But I didn't hear about that. What if?
Yeah, they were on Phase 0 and they did not give any sort of date. And they kind of pointed out, they said one of the things people forget about animation is that we can get all these scripts and all the storyboards done, but it takes over a year to animate 9 episodes.
Absolutely, I'm just bummed because I want because
that supposed Lost Tony episode that wasn't animated yet. That was literally pushed to the side. So
I thought they just delayed it, like it was almost done, but okay.
It made it sound like they hadn't even it wasn't ready for prime time.
You think we'll get a Loki season 2 announcement, like a date?
No,
we have heard nothing about, like, outside of a 2023. It's definitely not next year.
Yeah, I think they'll wait till they're more in production to give us a firmer date on that, because I don't know if they're waiting for, obviously they're getting a new director, but maybe we've said this before, where the continuity, maybe they can't even put it out until like we get Ant-Man and we get a few things. So like, we're in no rush to make it right now. So
maybe they'll wait long enough that they don't get a new director though. That show, the original, will come back.
I hope that would work out. It's my favorite Disney Plus show. It's my top 5 MCU. So I love Loki. So yeah, I'm a fiction as well, but that's why good point is 4 is more, because like 3, I agree with Brent, is that line of, that's the line, that's the perfect spot. You could easily, like the way they just like, oh yeah, we're doing She-Hulk, we're doing Moon Knight. You could easily, what if it's like, we've heard these rumors of, Werewolf by Night, it's like, what if they just throw that out there, like, yeah, that's coming, and stuff like that. So they could easily throw titles. The reason I will say fiction is because I feel like we already got a lot for next year. You got Miss Marvel, you got Moon Knight, you got Secret Invasion,
She-Hulk,
and She-Hulk. Already got
Secret Invasion, which just started production.
Yeah. That's a stacked year. I don't think you really need to start churning out the announcements yet. I think a few will do, and then we don't know other ones. Like Armor Wars is probably not next year, but you never know. It could be like a late November.
I think they've said they're starting production in January.
Yeah, and even then, that could be like Hawkeye slot now. Armor Wars could easily be a November show, right? So I don't think you need too many announcements, but I'll say fiction. But like I said, I still wouldn't put it past them to get over that line if you have Agatha and 10 Rings. To me, I agree it's already locked. That's just 2 more. That's just 2 more quick, like, Green Rocket animated show, boom, boom. Like it could, like, animated's another thing where they said they're working on stuff. Doesn't mean a movie's coming out or another show, but they could easily announce. Yeah, the same way those producers said that they were trying to plan to do like a T'Challa Star-Lord series. What if they announce another series that's going to be based off one of these what if characters? That's going to be okay. Not that he would, but Party Thor, he's getting his own series. Here you go. And that may still be 2 years away, but they could easily announce it. So I'm saying fiction, but it's not a super strong fiction. So we'll see.
All right. Well, I will put those out on Sunday afternoon. Travis will drop those in the notes so I can easily copy and paste it. So I don't have to bug him early on Sunday morning. And but yeah,
that's Chris also telling me to do it so I don't have to bug him. It doesn't have to bug me.
Yeah, that wasn't subtle.
I wasn't trying to be subtle at all. I was saying I'm going to say this now so he doesn't. But all right, so let us get to our comic book club, the final issue of One Moment in Time, Amazing Spider-Man number 641. All right, this was, I have to say, and I've said it since kind of the beginning, I have been very impressed, and this issue did not disappoint, and it was probably the most heartbreaking.
I would completely agree. But before we get to the heartbreaking part, it starts off with Strange Reed and Tony just talking about whether or not they're going to help Peter. And I love when they compare him to Cap and say he's basically like the best of us. Like that's him. And Tony's line of like, well, where did that get Cap? He's dead right now. And then I'm like, oh yeah, this would all be right after Civil War and stuff like that. So Captain America was dead. And I love that scene of those three talking, you know, kind of like this, not a quorum. They didn't have enough for a quorum for a full meeting of the Illuminati, but it's basically what it felt like.
Yeah. And especially, you know, them juxtaposition with Peter standing over MJ, just saying, you know, realizing, you know, so much what she said of that, you know, ever since she found out about who he was, she's never known a day of peace. She's always been in danger, and he can't do this to her anymore. But then at that moment when Strange is getting ready to cast a spell, in the middle of casting a spell, he jumps out of his protective bubble, grabs her and says, I can't live without her not knowing my secret. I love her way too much to lose this. And I was like, man, what a selfish moment at that point for him. I get it, but man, it's almost like, did you not just understand what you what you all were saying? Like, you can't do this to her anymore, but realizing that what she said to you earlier, that we can never be married. You know, it was basically in so many words, like, I almost wish I regret not knowing what I know about you.
Yeah, there's that great page where Peter is explaining, like he's helping her get in bed. He's basically tucking her into bed and is like explaining what's going on. He says, because I love you, MJ, I needed you to be the only one. And like they did close up on her eyes and she's like freaking out. And you can just see it. Really beautiful drawings. And then the very next page, totally different art style. Little jarring, I will admit. A little
very jarring. I'm sorry.
But I do think that it worked really well for the rest of the issue. Like this art style did fit the tone of the dialogue, the tone of what MJ is saying pretty well, I thought.
Yeah, especially, you know, as she says, you know, how long before you make a mistake, before someone rips off your mask or figures out who you are, and then what? The cycle starts over again. So it's not like I didn't always know that being Spider-Man's goal was a risky thing, but after May and Anna and after the Maniac said he was going after my family, until that very moment that I truly knew what being Spider-Man's girl meant, it's not you putting them in danger, it's me. And, you know, they both say, she says she loves him at that point, and, you know, MJ just leaves, you know, and that's kind of how we ended with them basically, you know, back at the apartment. And, you know, I like how Peter has a cathartic moment of just saying, talking this out has really helped him. And MJ kind of hearing from his perspective also has helped her.
Absolutely. But man, that page where she just stares and says, why didn't you let me forget? That's like haunting artwork.
Yeah.
There. It's really well done. And then when Peter's telling me, you know, like, oh, she just stepped out and Mary Jane, just disappeared. And we're back to the original art here. But I don't know, this whole series, like for as much as I don't like One More Day, and I still refuse to read Brand New Day.
Brand New.
No, I don't like One More Day.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I refuse to read Brand New Day. One Moment in Time is a fantastic 4-issue arc.
When I got to that final page, Brent, when it said today feels like a brand new day, I said, I just so wanted to text you. I said, you're going to love this last page.
Yeah. Those words. I mean, you know what? Here's the thing. That last page, I actually do love that last page. Just look at that artwork. It is incredible. Absolutely incredible. So while I hate those words, I hate them. The art is just straight up beautiful on that page.
Yeah. So, well, I'm very happy that I got a chance to read this. As I said, it's been so long. I barely remembered it. I kind of unequivocally said, oh, is it really as bad as I remember, you know, One More Day being at that point. And then this was a breath of fresh air. I think this did so much to repair the problems of One More Day. And I've really put this on a top tier list of Spider-Man arcs to definitely read.
You know what's weird? I still like is all of my joking aside about Mephisto, when he does pop up like related to these events, I do find it fascinating.
Yeah.
Because I mean, just anytime, even recently, like whenever it is, if you see Mephisto pop up and like Doctor Strange is trying to talk to him, like I find it fascinating. So it's like, I am so conflicted with this time in Spider-Man's history, but some really good stuff has come out of it, even if I hate, the initial, I don't know, beginning of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But all right, so we have concluded our exploration of one moment in time. So next week we start Hawkeye by Matt Fraction and David Aja. We will be reading 2 issues a week, so we will start off with Hawkeye number 1 and 2. Currently, issues 1 through 11 are on Comixology Unlimited. The rest of the series is not. If you are going to purchase this series in any way, shape, or form, purchase it by the trade. At some point after the first 11 issues, the chronological order gets a little wonky. And so we'll kind of, when we get to that part, Brendan and I will have to kind of plan exactly, are we going to issue by issue, or are we going to kind of go with how the issue should have been released? So it gets a little wonky at that point, if I remember correctly. So, but again, the first 11 issues, you'll be good for the first couple weeks. Those are on Comixology Unlimited. And also, as always, it is on Marvel Unlimited. So I'm excited to start this run.
Yes, absolutely. I've read part of it. I've never finished a run. So I don't even remember why. I just never got around to finishing it. So I'm looking forward to going through the whole thing.
Yeah. So, all right. So volume 73 is in the books. So thank you, Travis, for joining us and gracing us with your presence.
Of course, I'm a busy man. People usually pay for this type of thing, but that's a good thing. I come back. No, it's been lots of fun. I wish I could always be on more. I will be on again in November. Now that my life is getting back to normal, I'll get back to my monthly routine, and I will be here for Spider-Man. I already told Chris and Brent that I have secured one of the spots because, as you know, it's GUA reviews. You usually keep around a 6 or 7. Well, I am one of those because I'll be reviewing on Geek First, but I feel like it's a movie that I'm going to want to talk about quite a bit with quite a bit of people over and over. So that's going to be a joyous day. And that Disney Plus day could be fun. Lots of good stuff. But it was good to most importantly get back with you gentlemen. Just talk about some Ben Reilly, talk about some cowards, talk about some Ralph Boner, all the favorite Travis tropes. I come back and give everyone the best hits. No food reference tonight. I'm sorry, I'm off my game, but there will be one in the future. It's it's a work in progress.
We'll see. But we look forward to the next month when you come back on at that point. And why don't you remind people how they can follow you and plug Geekverse? Why not?
Yeah, you can find me at Travis B. Snell. I'm on Geekverse a lot. Like I said, here once a month. I'm usually, if you go on Patreon, GOA, me and Clay are doing the Batman 89 series monthly, and then I will be on the upcoming Injustice review because I'm excited to talk about that because I might be the only person with a glass half full type of guy from things I've heard. So I'm looking very forward to be on that review. Looking very forward to Fandom. And yes, thanks for having me back. And thank you to all the listeners for keeping this show going and all the rest of the network. So very much appreciate it.
Brent, same thing as always.
Brent Tech Prime on Twitter. We dropped a Fans Without Borders a few days ago. It's our Venom Let There Be Carnage review, and I will just tell you, seeing the second movie, this was a very different review for me. So seeing the movie a second time, I should say. So I would encourage you to check out that. It was an interesting experience.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely enjoyed it, and you're right. It is a tale of two reviews. So if you want to see Brent's more negative side, more negative take at that point, it is on our show. And then fans with again, sometimes the second viewing and a little bit of separation makes the heart grow slightly fonder, right?
Something like that.
All right. Well, again, we want to thank our sponsor, organicpricebooks.com. Again, use that code MarvelGUA at checkout for $2 off every single order. You can follow this podcast on Twitter at Marvel A Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Chris Balga. You can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUA Pod Network. Feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide fact or fictions, questions, feedback. Remember, next week, Sean O'Connell will be joining us. We're talking more Spider-Man action. We're very excited about that, so make sure to check us out then. Continue to rate and review this Marvel Alliance solo feed and the GUA podcast feed on whichever platform you listen to your podcast on. Thank you all for joining us in the chat. Thank you all for listening. Stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. Brent and I have been waiting a whole season we started when the season started, and now we have to talk about now that the season 2 have ended. Everyone, if you're not already know what we're talking about, we are talking about Ted Lasso.
Well, and that's why I'm going to leave. I'm going to jump into my
I was going to make
portal.
sure that you get out if you haven't seen it.
I do plan, like we talked about before, I do plan on watching this show. I've heard lots of praise, but to get my food reference, this is like you've had your meal and you're like, oh, I can't wait to look at that dessert menu, and they bring it to you and it's just empty. Because I was like, what is the post-credits? Like, oh, it's Ted Lasso season 2 finale discussions. That's not a me thing, you know. So I will listen to this once I see the show. But gentlemen, you have a good night, and I will talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Travis.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, Brent.
Okay, spoilers. Let's just say spoilers, that now,
yes,
please.
Yes. If you haven't figured it out already, we're going to be spoiling just a quick discussion on the season, mainly focusing on the season finale. Wow, what an ending.
This season was not as like happy-go-lucky as like the first one was. It was definitely a bit heavier, but in a way that still felt true to it. But man, there was some stuff. I mean, at one point during this season, I rolled, like, we're watching in bed. I just roll over and I look at my wife and I go, this entire thing has been one giant rickroll, and it's amazing. They just all led to a rickroll. So incredible. Yeah. But then this season 2 finale, oh my gosh, Nate the Great, what are you doing to me? Just I feel bad for him, you know, like he is going through some dark times, and I hope Ted can get through to him next season. I really do.
Yeah, it's before I get my kind of feelings on Nate, you're right. This season took a more heavier turn, and people said, "Man, this came out. I thought it was supposed to be funny and stuff like that." Is it the funny and the love and the heart has been continued there in the show? But what I really loved about the season is that we got deeper into what's the darker parts of Ted, like stuff that he kind of buries and beyond his breakup of his marriage. His father, his life before he came to Richmond, you know, the times where we get to focus on the captain of the team and how, you know, our favorite character on this show is able to break him out of it at that point with how he plays soccer at that point. I mean, you got the chant. Let's just, you know, do the chant.
He's here. He's there. He's every fucking where. Roy Kent.
Roy Kent.
Oh my God, he is my favorite character. And
yep.
That moment early in the season when he joins and he walks out on the field and the crowd starts chanting, he's like, "You had me at coach." It's so funny. Such a beautiful moment. And that's also the moment when I believe it turned for Nate. That's the moment when the whole season, the whole trajectory of this arc with Nate really began for it.
Well, I'll say even before that, because people say, "Oh my God, this turn from Nate came out of nowhere." Says, no, it didn't.
It didn't come from nowhere. No,
you know, even in the first episode of the season, he is being a little harsh at that point, and then Ted kind of puts him into place a little bit, and he realizes, says, "Okay, you know." What I will say, you know, again, he had a very Sith-like change in the sense of his hair kept getting grayer, the dark suit, you know, how he was demeanor at that point. He was always like this. He always had the chip on his shoulder. He always thought he knew more. He was better than that at that point. And his whole thing of like Ted not paying attention to him anymore, not giving him the props anymore. Yeah, that's part of it. But deep down, he was not a good person. Because again, it brings up the point of absolute power corrupts absolutely. When that, like you said, when Roy comes in there, it takes away the attention. When he gets this fan attention, when Ted has the panic attack and he gets that, he sees what he can do and he believes in himself that much more, and he doesn't feel he's getting much credit. Like deep down, at one point, he was this timid person, but once he got a taste of it, he never has had that his entire life, and he just kept on grasping at it, and it just corrupted him.
And it's always kind of been there. Go back to season 1, and the very first time we meet him, he's screaming at Ted to get off the grass.
Yeah.
Or later in that season, one of the absolute highlights of the first season is the roast that he does of the entire team at the halftime of one of their games. And that roast, like, if you go back and look at it, like, it's mean. A lot of it is just straight up mean. So like it's been there. It definitely I would argue if you think it came out of nowhere that you haven't been paying attention to Nate's character, but that doesn't make it any less sad and tragic.
Oh yeah,
and the way he would spit at the mirror when he's discussing with himself, or the sacrilege he did, yes, to the believe sign. Exactly.
Oh my God, I literally said "F you" at the TV. I said "F you, Nate." Come on.
Yeah, that's horrendous. And it'd been speculated because at the funeral episode, which happens to be the Rickroll one, Rupert pulled him aside and whispered something to him, right? And a lot of people have been speculating he's going to end up on a new team. And of course, and that the whole reason Rupert was selling his shares of the team was so he could take ownership of another one. That's exactly what we saw happen. And I'm already looking forward to the inevitable showdown between these two teams, probably for like the championship of the whole league, right? Like to win it all, it's going to come down to these two. But it's not even just them, it's like Keely and Roy's relationship and like dealing with Jamie and the growth that Jamie had as a character. I think one of the most heartbreaking moments, I think the most touching moment, let me phrase it that way. It is heartbreaking, but it's touching at the same time, is when Jamie and his father have fight in the locker room, and the abuse that Jamie has lived with all his life. When his whole team sees it, no one knows what to do, and Roy just goes up and gives him a hug. It's just a beautiful, beautiful moment, and that might be my favorite moment of the entire season. No, it's not the part that made me laugh the most, obviously, but it's the part that made me care the most.
Yeah, and I love going even back to Nate when Nate's saying, I'm gonna, don't you feel like Ted takes all his credits like that, and Roy is like of the one who used to have like I'm the star, things like that. He's like, that's the job, son. That's what we're due. Again, I'm an assistant principal. I do a lot of things. My job is to continue making sure my principal continues to look good. He takes credit for everything I do, but as he's always told me, when you're going for the next gig, you get to take credit for everything as well. At that point, that's the deal, and that's the job. But like so many great moments, the whole focus of being Coach Beard, the relationship, the secret relationship between Rebecca and the play, and
Sam,
yeah, that was very interesting. I mean, there were so many great moments. This season took season one and really dove hard into character stuff. This would be a season I would love to revisit. And if rumors and if Jason Sudeikis is to be believed, next season will be the last season of Ted Lasso. He has been very much talking about it was 3 seasons he's done, but doesn't mean money can't be thrown. They can't continue, but he has continued to be vehement that only 3 seasons.
He said it was basically designed as a 3-season arc.
Yeah.
And obviously, and he even acknowledged, we also didn't expect this reaction to it. Plans can change. Plans have already changed because initially season 2 was only going to be 10 episodes.
Yeah.
But there were 2 episodes that were added on to them. The Christmas episode, which I will be absolutely watching again at Christmas time. Yep. And then the Coach Beard episode, which was radically different from anything else they did. Basically, they said, we have this extra episode. We have our arc planned out. Let's just have some fun with this one and do something different. And that's what they did. And it's a great episode. It's hilarious. And next year is 12 episodes, but they already know that. They know that ahead of time. Even the first 3 episodes this year, like they thought season 1 dropped 3 episodes and then was weekly after that. They thought that would happen again for season 2. And that wasn't the case. So the first 3 episodes of this season were designed as a 3-episode arc effectively. Yeah. And it's just a beautiful show. It's a true delight. And I think I've met like one person who really didn't get into it. I'm like, well, that's the most negative thing I've ever heard about the show is I didn't get into it. Like, no, I don't hear people speaking ill of it. The writing is just genius. It's some of the smartest writing on television, in my opinion. The acting is impeccable. And no, I love Ted Lasso. I will absolutely rewatch both seasons before season 3 starts. I'm already excited for it. And I'm already a little disappointed that in about an hour, there's not another episode dropping like there was the last 12 weeks.
There's not. I'm on to, I'm on the morning show right now. So I've got at least that to look forward to. So.
We will get there. I got one more episode to see because I'm really enjoying that. It's definitely different than everything else I watch. But Jason Momoa, he's so good in that show. I mean, really, they're all good in that one. But Jason Momoa and Dave Bautista, tomorrow's episode is going to be a doozy. And actually, now that I think about it, that's probably dropping in an hour. Maybe I'll take a look at the runtime and see how long we're looking. But I am looking forward to it. And Apple TV Plus, they're not like my number one streamer, but I have liked what I have watched on it. I've seen several shows of it, and so far they've all been really good.
Yeah. So, but all right. Well, hopefully, if you've enjoyed our little analysis, bookending with Ted Lasso, we'll be back when it comes back for season 3. No release date yet. Maybe next year. Maybe a little bit longer. We'll have to see.
They speculated next August because that's when this one started.
Okay. All right. Well, I will take that to the bank and hopefully cash it. So, all right. Thank you all listeners for joining us. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.
See you.